Good evening, everybody. I'm Sam Shihab with the law firm of Sam Shihab and Associates. Absent is my dear friend Brian Burke. He is out today for personal reasons, and he will be back next week. And therefore, today I will have the pleasure of presenting to you the presentation today, and I will not have Brian to interrupt me or come out with smart comments. And also, we will miss his very helpful and insightful opinions on this topic. But I will share with you today the presentation about the top 10 tips for choosing the immigration lawyer who is right for your case. In one moment when we return. All right, so again, I'm Sam Shihab with the law firm Sam Shihab and Associates. We're immigration attorneys. We practice employment and immigration law throughout the U.S. and throughout the world. And we spend an hour with you every Monday at 6 o'clock to share some important topic that we think is worth sharing. And at the same time, take your questions in the second half of the hour and answer them to the best of our abilities. And today's topic is the top 10 tips for choosing the immigration lawyer who is right for you. Now, I have to preface today's presentation with sharing with you that really this is strictly my opinion, and I am most certain that there are other tips that I may miss and not mention that other people will come out with, and perhaps you can bring them to my attention and I will include them if I repeat this presentation again in the future in a different forum. And also there are other attorneys out there who have different opinion than mine, which I very much respect. The presentation today is my opinion and only my opinion, and it's the culmination of approximately 27, 28 years of practicing immigration law, and 25 years of which in managing a law firm. Without further delay, let's jump in on the first point of the top 10 tips for choosing an immigration attorney who is right for your case. And obviously, the first one is the most important one, which is knowledge and experience. But I'd like to elaborate on the knowledge and experience because it's not only the knowledge of and experience, but what knowledge and what experience that we're talking about. Of course, the number of years of the attorney's experience is very important to consider. However, it has to be relevant to the area that you have a need for. A lot of time I get calls, for example, and this is, by the way, for every area, not only immigration law, but any other type of legal retaining an attorney in any other field. I get a lot of calls from friends and clients, and they will say, do you know a good real estate lawyer? I need a real estate lawyer, please. And I would have to ask, what kind of real estate lawyer are you looking for? Are you looking for a residential dispute? Are you dealing with a commercial dispute? Are you dealing with a development dispute? Is this a land contract? Is this a mortgage default? Is this a landlord and tenant? Are you trying to evict someone from a property you own, or are you being evicted? So, because each one will lead me to go to a different attorney. Similar in the immigration business. I have been practicing immigration for a long time, and in the first 4 years or so of my 28 years of practice, or 27 years of practice, and I haven't counted them carefully, I'm going to have to say probably 28 years of practice. I have did the first few years, I did deportation, I did asylum, I did other types of cases like Violence Against Women's Act cases, and these type of cases But if somebody comes to me today and asks me for to take an asylum case, I would never take an asylum case. I would never take a deportation case. Why? Because I haven't done it in a long time. Now I do know, enough about it, but not enough to be of use or be very efficient in it. So the experience of the lawyer has to be relevant to the area that the lawyer has practiced in the area that you need. The other thing about knowledge and experience that you may not know is the paralegal, the staff that's handling your case. What is their experience? What is their knowledge? You know, and I know that we as attorneys don't complete forms. We do not do the nuts and bolts of the case. The paralegal does it. How many years of experience the paralegal working on your case has in the field? And you should ask the paralegal assigned to my case how many years of experience they had with in this area. Because if they have only 6 months of experience, I would be slightly concerned. But if they had a 10 years experience, and we have paralegals that have been with the firm for 10 years, if you have fortunate to have a paralegal with that number of years of experience, they have the knowledge and the experience that's going to be able to move your case in an efficient way, and they have the eye for it. And the fact that they've been with this attorney or with this law firm for that number of years gives you the confidence that they are competent, and that is very important consideration. And then the last piece is, who are you hiring? Who are you retaining as a client? Are you hiring a law firm or are you hiring a lawyer? Now, what do I mean by that? Some law firms have multiple attorneys, but when you retain a lawyer, you just hire that lawyer. This attorney is the one working on your case. Normally, they don't often discuss cases with one another. Each attorney is busy. Sometimes attorneys working together in one office have a sharing arrangement where they come, they pay the rent together, but they really are not a law firm, but they present the appearance of a law firm. So you're really not hiring a law firm, you're hiring an individual. And there is a big advantage, in my opinion, my humble opinion, in hiring a firm that is a law firm that takes the case in as a team. That's full disclaimer, that's the arrangement my office has. We take cases as a team. There is not a case that is my case and your case. I mean, the paralegals have their assigned cases and the attorneys have their assigned cases, but we work in a pyramid in a very collaborative way. We meet very regularly. We discuss cases very regularly, and different attorneys have different levels of expertise in different areas, and they develop that expertise further in that area, and we just work together. For example, if I have a labor certification question that's complicated, I would only go to my partner Cheryl Brico, for example, who has over 25 years experience specifically in labor certification. And she will provide the assistance and the support in that area because it's her case too. It's not my case, it's the office case, it's the law firm's case. So whereas if you're hiring a single attorney who could be very competent, it's just completely a little bit different experience than hiring a team. So knowledge and experience is a big piece, and you can probably ask when you talk to the firm about how do they handle the cases, do they work as a team. If you go into a law firm and there's 6 lawyers, one does employment immigration, one does deportation, one does asylum, and the other one does litigation, they're not working as a team. It sounds like a great law firm, but it is not a firm that works as a unit. For example, in my office, and I keep referring to my office because, number one, that's the only experience I have is my practice, and I also will show you by way of example what we do. Every attorney does employment immigration. We all do employment immigration. And we all do a little bit of family immigration, because family immigration, you cannot not do family immigration. Everybody needs it. but we don't do, this office does not do asylum. I don't have an attorney that does asylum. I don't have an attorney that does deportation. We will refer that out to other law firms because we are an employment-based team. And that's what you need to know when you're considering knowledge and experience. Let's look at the next point here. How long has the team been together? That's an excellent point because if your team has been assembled to play the game yesterday, that team is not going to be as cohesive as a team that has been working together for quite some time. A team of attorneys and paralegals that have been together for multiple years is significantly more efficient than a team, and also knowledgeable and helpful than a team that's just been assembled, or you're working in a team where there's a revolving door where paralegals and lawyers is going in 6 months, 1 year, year and a half, and then leaving, and then another attorneys are getting hired. And stability of the office is a huge piece of it. And again, in my office, our attorneys have been with us together. I think we've been together for 8 to 10 years, maybe more even. Some of the attorneys. So and as well as the paralegal, a lot of the paralegals also been with us for quite some time. So a team that's been together, that know each other, that means there's a stability, there is knowledge, there's understanding of who we are. That really reflects on your case. You want a happy team and an efficient team to help you out. All right. Communication. Longevity in the team facilitates communication. Communication is external and internal. How responsive is the team to your inquiry? Ask around. When I inquire about my case, when do I get a reply? Do I get a reply 3 days later? Now, I have to say that the nature of the practice can change. For example, when we're dealing with litigation, and let's say or a criminal matter that's going to in court, let's say my client has an immigration issue but has a criminal need, and there's a criminal lawyer on the outside helping us out. Those attorneys that are in court are not normally as responsive as attorneys that work in the office like me. Why? Because they're spending 2/3 of their time in front of the judge. So you're not going to get that kind of responsiveness from, let's say, a litigator out in court as much as you would get from a transactional lawyer or a criminal lawyer. So the type of practice will change the level of responsiveness. But within the same sphere, let's assume immigration lawyer to immigration lawyer, how fast do you get answers to your question? But again, at the same time, your question has to be reasonable. If you're the kind of guy that sends a question every day, and I don't have that, honestly, then that could be an issue. But if you're asking a relevant question at an appropriate time, and most people do that, to be sincere, how fast do you get an answer back? That's a big piece of it. Are you going to wait 2 days to get an answer, or is this something by end of business day or the next 2 hours you get a response? Very important to inquire about that, because it has to do with your mental peace of mind. You ask a question, you're not getting an answer. That will drive anybody crazy. It'll drive me crazy. And then also regular updates on progress. Is this office set up to give regular update on process? When there's a receipt number, you get an email. When there's an approval, you get an email. When there's an RFE, you get an email. If there's a question, you get an email. And if you're not replied to a question we've asked, do we send a follow-up email? You need that kind of communication that's aggressive and continuing. And if there's a communication that is not that aggressive and continuing, I think it could be a problem for the case. Within the same context of communication, I think the attorney's candor is an important piece of the communication. Now, we as lawyers have to be honest with our client, but honesty and communication is a sliding scale, meaning you get a case, and what do you tell the client that this case has problems and it's not likely to succeed? Is this what the client wants to hear? Or do you tell the client, it's a difficult case, we'll do the best we can? Well, that kind of comforts the client, but does that really communicate to the client what the case is about? I am a believer that candor, you need to really tell the client everything. You need to tell them this case has difficulties, what the difficulties are, what the likelihood of success is, at the earliest moment you know it. So candor, responsiveness, regular updates, communication is very important, and you need to ask around when you talk to other people trying to find an immigration lawyer that's helpful, that will take your case. How is their communication? How is the candor? Were they straightforward, or were just giving you an answer just for the heck of it? Or are you getting regular update on your case, or are you not getting a regular update on your case? Have they replied to your emails momentarily in a short time period, or they were not very responsive to you? The attorney workload, that is an important piece to consider, ladies and gentlemen. If the attorney's workload is light, with few exceptions, that might give you a clue that this is really not a very experienced office. And that would be probably a reasonable inference that you can draw. Now, on the other hand, if the attorney's office is loaded with work, that's a red flag as well, because are they overwhelmed? Unless they have the manpower. So massively busy practice is a concern. A massively slow practice is a concern. So you want to find a practice somewhere in the middle where you are getting a lawyer who has a lot of experience, but at the same time has the time to handle your case. So you have to kind of assess that. And I know it's difficult for you to assess, but you probably can ask questions, you know, are you guys very busy in this office? Well, we're not busy at all. Well, you know, or yeah, oh yeah, we're incredibly overwhelmed right now. Well, that's a concern. And I am very, you know, we as lawyers, we go through waves. My office goes through waves. You know, there's cap filing, we just go nuts, and then things slow down a little bit. And I tell people, you know, where are we at any given time, in a very frank, and that goes back to the candor. You know, where, you know, or when the adjustment of status visa bulletin moved and you're filing a lot of adjustments, you know, I don't take cases during that time, new cases for a new client. Why? Because it's not appropriate for me to do that. So the workload of the attorney is a big consideration, and a good lawyer will not take cases where their workload is heavy, and also you have to kind of be asking the questions, is your workload such that you can handle my case without being overwhelmed? Organization. Now, what do I mean by organization? Organization is multifaceted. Does the office uses modern technology in managing the caseload? Obviously, technology is everything. A long time ago, I had a paralegal that worked for me, a wonderful young lady, and she told me that she's really frustrated because she has gained weight in my office. And I told her, why did you gain weight? She said, because I'm not moving from my desk. In the previous practice, I was walking all over the office looking for files of cases. In your office, everything is digitized, everything on the screen. I don't have to walk around, and I'm not moving from the office. And I told her, listen, you know, you can take a break and walk around the building, walk downstairs if you want. Don't blame me because we've digitized everything, because honestly, we have digitized our files almost maybe coming on 2 decades of my practice. And that is a big deal. Does the office is organized to have cross-checks? Receipt number cross-check, you know, every case is filed. Do you cross-check within 2 weeks that the receipt number received, not received? I know the client will ask, but do you do that as part of what you do in your office? Expiration tracking. When you're working on a case, do you have expiration tracking? You can ask the attorney, do you have a tracking system in your office for receipt number, expiration, RFE, deadlines? And I'm hoping that they would say yes. And I think your next question should be, how do you track it? Because if they tell you, well, we have a paralegal that enters it on an Excel sheet, that's a concern. That is not a good system. But if they tell you that everything is in a case management software that we use, then that's a better answer. So organization is important. Another thing about organization is if an attorney is out sick, and we are human, we will get sick. Is there somebody else that comes in to step in and answer your question and make sure that the case is moving along? And that's the team approach and the organization approach you would need from your attorney to be able to do that. We will take vacation. We will get sick. Our children will get sick. We will stay at home. And that requires a team to be able to make sure that this case moves uninterrupted in the office. All right. Number 6 is office culture. And office culture is something that's very difficult for you to figure out, but I think you probably can get a feel for it when you talk to the receptionist, you talk to the attorney. Are they professional? Are they compassionate? Is there empathy? Is there professionalism in the communication? Because if these qualities can be gleaned through your communication with them, then that quality probably is running through the case processing. And I think it's very difficult for somebody to be one thing in the front and something else in the back, but those people do exist, trust me. But that would be the best you can do to try to understand the office culture. Because a bad office culture translates to bad case processing. A good office culture translates to a good case processing. Cost. Cost is another issue that is important. You don't want an attorney on either end of the spectrum of cost. The cheapest lawyer, I find it difficult to understand how they can handle a case properly without really cutting corners to save on cost, which can affect the quality of the work. It doesn't affect necessarily the quality of the work of every case, but it affects potentially the quality, the potential risk on a higher percentage of the cases, like from 5% to 10%, what have you. If there's not competent paralegal, if you're not hiring very experienced paralegal who needs to be paid more, or you're not using technology to track things, so when you're getting a very cheap guy, I can guarantee you there are corners being cut because that person has to live too. It always makes me nervous, for example, when attorneys use a Gmail account to communicate. That tells me that attorney is cutting on cost. And if they're cutting on cost, I'm not comfortable. You may be comfortable, but I'm not comfortable. On the other end of the spectrum, you don't have to pay too much, a ridiculous amount of fees, because sometimes you can pay a lot and still not get the service that you need and the quality that you need. So look for the middle of the ground. When I hire lawyers, I do the same thing. And I have hired an attorney that quoted me $1,500 to do something, and ended up hiring an attorney that charged $10,000 for, let's say, a criminal case, by way of example. Because I felt that the $10,000 were more appropriate for the work to be done, and the $1,000 I'm going to get in trouble because the work is not going to get done. There's no way, unless that attorney is a magician. So cost is very important. Make sure you do not get stuck on either end of the spectrum of the cost and trying to keep it in the middle. And that will probably help you find an attorney that's going to be right for your case. Creativity is an issue that's very difficult to decipher or figure out on your own. I don't know how you can figure it out, but clearly getting an attorney with a good creativity can most certainly help your case. I cannot say more or less about that, except that a creative attorney can truly help your case. And an attorney that lives in a box and that's all what they do, it really not the kind of lawyer you want to be with unless the case is straightforward and simple and does not require creativity. But a creative lawyer can make a big difference on the success of the case and the handling of the case, to be honest with you. And I don't know, maybe you can read reviews, you can inquire about creativity. Maybe you can, when you read these reviews, see if you can figure out if there is any information that can confirm or dispel the creativity element of the attorney. Ethics and integrity is the foundation of what we do as lawyers. Without ethics and without integrity, we are worth nothing. However, ethics and integrity is a sliding scale. How can you find out whether the attorney has the integrity and ethic necessary? One place you can go to is the State Bar website. It typically has public information as to whether an attorney has been reprimanded in the past for an ethics violation. And clearly, an attorney who's been reprimanded in the past for ethics violation, you should stay away from them. And unfortunately, some of these attorneys are great creative lawyers and great advocates, but their probably ability to maintain the ethics line is not as strong. And you cannot tell whether the attorney is ethical or not ethical by talking to them. There's no way you can determine that. I couldn't determine that. I have had relationships with attorneys that I've known in the social circles, and then later on found out that they were just having a huge ethical problem with the bar, which was like surprising. Got to know them very well, and then all of a sudden there's a story, a history there. So check the bar about the attorney, and that can help perhaps. Talk to other people who use the law firm. How did you feel about them being straightforward and honest? That's really important. And again, I hate to say Google reviews, but obviously you could, if there's a pattern. I mean, usually I don't care about a single review, positive or negative, but if there's a consistent pattern one way or the other, you cannot ignore that pattern. Obviously, we talked about reviews, testimonials. It's a big thing. Everybody's is leaving testimonials on the World Wide Web. It's a good source. Like I said, look for pattern. Don't read a single case. If you read only a single one, then I would be concerned that they may not be representative of the facts. And look for a pattern to help you out. I would not put much credence in the top 10 reviews, top 10 lawyers, top 10 this. These are all accumulated for commercial purposes. There is one source called Martindale and Hubble, and full disclosure, I am listed there as one of the top attorneys, so I have to disclose that. But the Martindale and Hubble AV rating, AV is the highest rating they have, is not a rating that they produce. It's a rating by other attorneys of this lawyer. So typically they solicit opinion of 20 attorneys and sometimes judges. And these attorneys, anonymously, they provide opinions that you do not know which lawyer or who it is. And that these opinions form the rating of the attorney. It's the only rating system of attorneys that's out there that is known of attorneys rating attorneys. The other ones, to best of my knowledge, are either committees, internal committees, or there could be another one that does that, something similar to that, but not as extensive as Martindale and Hubble, and that's the oldest system, the most reliable system. Or it sometimes uses computer algorithm, like Avo, I think uses computer algorithm, I don't know. But Martindale and Hubble is the most reputable. It's the oldest system for rating. That's what I got for you for the 10 tips how to choose an immigration lawyer that's right for your case. I hope that's helpful. When I come back, I will answer your questions. All right, so I'm having a technical difficulty, so I'm going to get the music one more time here, and I'll get back to you guys in about a couple minutes to answer your questions. All right, so we're having a little bit of a difficulty on the feed coming through, and we are going to be receiving those questions manually and answering them for you. I apologize for the technical difficulty, and to the extent that we can bring it back, we will, but it doesn't look like it wants to do that right now. Very interesting that we're having that. So without delay, I think the first question that we had was dealing with traveling on advanced parole but being on H-1B. And I didn't get enough of that question, so we will be back here in about 1 minute trying to answer. We're going to extend this session to trying to take care of everybody's question. Am I live? Okay, good. So perfect. So I got the questions here. So from M123, good evening, Sam and Brian. Can we use the advanced parole just to enter the U.S. while maintaining the H-1? Never had stamping through H-1. Thanks, welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your blah, blah, blah. So now, what I need to know is if you're entering you've never had the stamp on an H-1, so I'm assuming in this case that probably you were on a different visa and you filed for a change of status to an H-1B, filed for your green card, maybe you entered on a B visa or on a student visa, and then filed for labor certification I-140, and then you got your advanced parole, and then you're leaving the country on advanced parole and you're returning on advanced parole, and you're joining the same employer. Obviously, you have to have an EAD, because once you enter on advanced parole, you should be working on your EAD, not your H-1B. Now, USCIS had said in one of their memo that you could be allowed to continue working with your H-1B employer even if you didn't have an EAD with you, and you will not be considered to be to violate your employment authorization because you did not have an EAD with you. But I'm assuming in this case that you have an EAD, but you're joining your H-1B employer. I don't have a problem with it. Again, it's one of those things that you probably need an attorney to look at it carefully for you to make sure that you are not. I'm not overlooking a detail that's really important in your case. Ramilov, hi Sam and Brian. I have an EAD and advanced parole expiring in December of 2023. Is it mandatory to file them before it expires, as I might not use it, as I did not file my dependent I-485 on and be on H-1B? There is nothing mandatory to file an EAD or an advanced parole since you are on an H-1B. No, there is not. However, I do like the fact that you go ahead and file those and keep them, because just in the event of change of employer, in the event of a layoff on H-1B or being fired from your job, the EAD will come in to be able to allow you to continue your employment. But it is not mandatory to file them before they expire. And you can file them at any time in the future. All right. With Ram Raju, I applied for family-based green card to my mother. Sent the I-130, the I-45 along with the I-64, got a receipt number for the I-130. Can she travel to Canada while her green card is pending? So first of all, I wonder whether you received a receipt number for the I-485. So that's a big question for me. You did not mention that. And if you did not receive an I-485 for the receipt document for the I-485, I would like to wonder why you did not receive that document, because it's really important. Now, with regard to travel to Canada while her green card is pending, she must have a valid advance parole to be able to do that. I am not familiar with what status your mom is on in the U.S. at the present time, and how would she be able to come back to the U.S. without an advance parole. If she came in, let's say, on a visitor visa, no, she cannot travel to Canada. If she has an H-1B visa? Potentially yes. So I don't know enough about the status of your mom to answer that question. I am skeptical that she can leave to Canada and come back, but I'm most concerned about the I-485 receipt notice you haven't received. So that one here, I would like to you to kind of inquire on that, Ram, to find out what's going on there with that document. Sky limit. Hi, Sam. My H-1B is valid until 2024 July. Okay? I have an EB-5 EAD as well, which I didn't use. Recently, I received an RFE on my advanced parole application regarding travel after filing the application. Continuation. Can I not respond to the RFE because I know it will be denied anyways because I had traveled after applying? I don't need advanced parole for now. Will it negatively impact my EB-5 or EAD application? No, it will not negatively impact if the denial is for sure forthcoming. I would, however, reply anyways. Not replying to USCIS is not a good idea on cases, in my opinion. You should reply, and it could be, yes, I've traveled, please accept my withdrawal of the advanced parole. It's a two-liner. I realize that now my advanced parole cannot be approved, and just mail it with the RFE. In my opinion, that's a lot better. In the future, is there an impact on my future cases? Sky the Limit is asking. No, there is not an impact. All right. Moving on to Ojas Kulkarni. Do I need to take a new medical for my interview if interview date fall within 2 years of signed medical? Not right now. You don't need to take a medical with you at this time. No, you do not. Ratchet, can I use my I-485 EAD to renew a driver's license at DMV? Is it going to impact my H-1B status? No, that's a good question though. No, it does not impact your H-1B status to use the EAD as an ID document at the DMV if they are looking for some kind of an identification card with your home address or just your name and your picture on it, and you present the EAD card for the driver's license, it will have no impact on your H-1B status. But that's a great question because there are crazy rules out there and you cannot be careful enough in a lot of situations. So in this case, no, you do not have to worry about an impact on your H-1B status if you use your EAD card at the DMV. Good Time Forever. I love that name. Good Time Forever. My 485 was filed on October 6, 2022, and I-140 EB2 approved, and it's over 180 days now. Okay? All right. Sounds good to me. But on February 14, 2023, we interfiled 485 supplemental to downgrade to EB2, from EB2 to EB3 as date is current. All right? And that happened in February 14, 2023. One suggestion I got, in case of layoff, as it's less than 180 days since the I-485 Supplement J, are there any to tell employer to withdraw the Supplement J if they or if they won't withdraw it, I do it myself by writing a letter to the MBC requesting withdrawal of the I-485 Supplement J and reverting back to EB2 I-140. What happens to the original Supplement J if another is filed when I join another company? So What do you suggest in this scenario? So the scenario here, good time forever is giving us is he has an I-485 and an I-140 that 180 days have passed. The I-140 has been approved. The 485 has been pending for 180 days. But he sounds like did a transfer underlying basis from EB2 to EB3. And the transfer underlying basis, what it does, it resets the 180-day clock when you file it. And therefore, he is worried about getting laid off and not being able to continue his green card with a new employer. And he's asking, one, can I ask the employer to withdraw the supplement J? Two, can I do it myself? What shall I do? First of all, the employer does not have to withdraw the supplement J. The supplement J is your filing. You can withdraw the supplement J yourself. That's number one. Number two, there's no method to withdraw a supplement J by USCIS. There's no procedure to do that except to write them a letter. And by writing them a letter, good luck for them reading it, and good luck for them to even matching it to your file. So that's going to be an issue, but you can certainly try to do that, to withdraw, since it's not considered. And if you transfer employment, you can use the EB2 and file a new supplement J for EB2, relying on the old 180 days. And I think if you are in a situation that you really got laid off and you really have to do this, I would certainly do it. I would absolutely not hesitate to write a letter withdrawing the request for transfer underlying basis, that you want to remain under EB2, and inform them that your employment has terminated and you're using the 180 days for the new supplement J. So you can certainly do that without a problem, in my opinion. Thank you. And I would say that more than likely that USCIS will accept it. It will not be resisted by USCIS as long as you send it by certified mail. Probably you want to have an attorney help you with it to make sure it's done right. All right, moving on here to Ujwal Guniganti. I have a pending I-485 in EB category with MCS receipt notice. Okay? What is filing address for advanced parole renewal? I live in Pennsylvania. That's a fantastic question. And that's something that we do hundreds of times daily in this office, looking up at filing dates for certain cases. That is not the kind of question I typically answer in this session, because quite frankly, I gotta have the case. I mean, I cannot do it for somebody else and then I miss a detail and then all of a sudden you're mailing in the wrong address. Just remember, folks, these Q&A sessions are information for you to consider, to kind of whet your appetite for what might be the scenario for your case, but do not rely on what we tell you here in this office to make a decision on your case. And clearly there's no attorney-client relationship established, because I do not know enough about you for me to be your attorney, and I certainly do not answer what address questions, because I got to look it up. And as I look up hundreds of other cases in my office, and I only do it for my cases because I have the whole file, I have the whole history, I'm in control of the information, and I'm afraid I will give you a wrong information, Ujwal, so I don't do that. I may have skipped one question from Amit. Amit, are there any news around addressing the green card backlog, given that India priority dates are retrogressed significantly, given that it will take at least 15 years for its current priority date? Very disappointing. Amit, there isn't anything going on right now that's going to help the retrogression. Congress and the president's locked in for a fight regarding the debt limit. Congress wants to push the president to cut down on IRS agents that he's hiring so they can go and audit people. They think it's a total waste of taxpayers' money, and they're refusing to raise the debt limit. The administration came out today and said unless Congress raises the debt limit by June 1st, the U.S. will default on its obligation, meaning that they may not have money to pay for Social Security or Medicare or pay interest on debt that they owe to the world. That is the only thing going on between now and June. Nothing is going to pass Congress between now and June except fighting over the debt limit. And then after that, probably nothing is going to happen because there's going to be some upset people, angry people, because one side is going to win, the other side is going to lose. That's going to create more hostility, and nobody's going to get together to fix anything. So right now, do not count on anything in terms of moving or fixing the obvious problems that we all have. All right, moving along here. A software engineer, so I'm getting this a little bit truncated. So current AK, I believe his name AK. Currently, I'm a software engineer for a bank. I have a pending I-485. Can I take up a job as a software engineer in an insurance company? Well, the short answer is yes and maybe. The longer answer is it would appear to me that a software engineer for a bank is the same or similar job classification to a software engineer in an insurance company. Now, I would confirm that if I read the job description for the software engineer for the bank and the software engineer for the insurance company. If the duties and responsibility in general are the same, then the answer is yes. So more than likely, the answer is 100% yes for AK, because I just see the title and the standard is same or similar. It doesn't have to be the same. Similar is enough. However, the perfect determination is when we read the job description, because USCIS told us many times over and over is this job title does not dictate what the job is. It's the job description that dictate what the job is. So I would be interested to look at the software engineer for the insurance company and the software engineer for the bank and make sure that they are same or similar, which more than likely they are. But I got to look at the job description, in which case, hopefully, the answer would be yes. And then AK continues and says, or do I have to be a software engineer in the banking business only? Absolutely, you do not have to be a software engineer in the banking business only. You can be a software engineer working for yourself, as a matter of fact, and be a same or similar, so long as the job descriptions are same or similar to one another. I got a question from Ram Raju. Hi Sam, question, part 2. So part 2 here, and I missed part 1 from Ram. I don't see part 1 for Ram. I apologize, Ram. I think I see it right here. I applied for green card to my mother, sent I-130, I-45 along with I-65, got receipt notice for I-130. Can she travel to Canada? Hi Sam, question part 2. My mom is on B1 visa, okay. And can she travel to Canada and come back while family-based green card is pending, still waiting for I-485 receipt notice? Absolutely not. She cannot, Ram. She will lose that I-485 and she may not be allowed to enter the U.S. A B visa has a non-immigrant intent, and obviously she declared an immigrant intent, so this is not going to work out at all if she leaves. So my recommendation is for her to not leave, and I'm assuming, I'm hoping, Ram, that you filed this family-based petition through counsel, because being on a B1 visa can be a tricky application when you file an immigrant petition, and hopefully that counsel was able to help you with the proper filing on this case. If you file this, homemade, if you did this at home, I would strongly suggest you consult with a counsel on this case. But if you follow through a competent attorney, I would feel a lot better. All right, moving on to Venkat CH. I had a green card interview scheduled next week on EB2 485. Okay, great. What can I expect in an interview on employment related? Will USCIS ask about green card position, like now, did get job or interviewed? And well, we have more than one video on this topic. If you can look at the history of the videos about the trends, the new recent trends on I-485 interviews. I think we published that we had that discussion a few weeks back, not too long ago, so it should be pretty current. However, Venkat, I would recommend that, I don't know much about your case, that you do the adjustment status review prep. I know we do those in my office. I'm sure the attorney that handled your case does it. A review prep, adjustment status interview review prep, is good to kind of holistically look at your case and just to kind of make sure that you're in a good spot. I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. And our clients like it a lot because it really does kind of tie the whole case together and make you feel strong and confident going to this adjustment interview. And if you feel that, or you uncover, or you're concerned about any aspect of your case, I really cannot emphasize the advantage of being able to have an attorney with you at that interview. It's a huge, huge advantage. I mean, but if your case is straightforward, obviously you don't. But if there's any things that you should be worried about, I would not walk in solo without a lawyer, in my opinion. All right. I got a question from Prasad Pudipali. My I-765 renewal application got rejected. Ouch. Reason, please be sure to complete the application fully, submit the appropriate fees, and include all the required supporting documents. Can I travel to India with advanced parole after applying for advanced parole renewal application? We'll be back to the U.S. before. If you're going to be back to the U.S. before the advanced parole is expired, I have no concerns about the pending advanced parole. As long as you're back before that advanced parole expires. So I have no concerns there whatsoever. I don't know if I have more questions. None have come to me from my dear attorney Joe Marhart has been helping me with these. So with that, I will conclude today's presentation. I thank you for your patience. Sorry about the hiccup in the middle, but yes, I do miss the technical competence of Brian that helps with this stuff. And thank you for listening to me. I hope to see you next week to answer more questions for you.